Your call is very important to us. Please hold the line.
All right, it's back to green again.
Holy
Hey, people in the
moly!
chat, if you can report if you can see us again here, I'll
Twitch
wait till then.
Oh, and I just had. Oh well. I just had some things come into the cocoman.biz inbox. Woo!
Okay.
Wow.
I think
Twitch is back on for sure. I just checked, and so did Jim Ryan.
Yeah,
YouTube's back on.
we're on Twitch again.
Where were we?
I don't know.
Well, I was asking the question about VCF. Like, obviously, they got the different sections, for each type of computer, like the Coco Corner, the Tier City Tandy, the Atari. That talks about the vendors and the people doing displays. I'm talking about the general public. Do they generally just tend to go to the machine they grew up with and ignore everything else, or do they really spread out and kind of try to learn about everything new? Like, did you see a lot of people that were not Coco people at the Coco Corner?
People generally will go through the whole place because it's like 3 main rooms, and the first 2 rooms are microcomputers, and then the last one is the big iron, large mini and computers and such. And
what are they paying to get in?
They what?
What are they paying to get in?
Nothing.
It's free. It's completely free.
Yeah.
And it's people will walk through, like they'll go to the sections that they're interested in, and then they'll continue walking through the other sections. And like people that are like looking at stuff that they're not their primary interest, they'll continue to look and they'll ask questions, but they don't really stick around those sections too long. They'll just continue on looking at other things. But yeah, it's kind of a mix with the way they have it, so that you when you're walking through, in order to be able to see everything, you have to go through all the sections. But they didn't. But no one really sticks to like one section. I mean, like the people that are displaying their stuff, they'll mostly stay with one section, but they'll also go out and look at the other stuff too.
Okay, that was one thing I was wondering about. Like I said, it sounded like from the way Ken was talking that he wasn't seeing much interest from outside the Coco community, at least where his display was. And maybe he just doesn't know some of the people, and maybe he.
Well, I think the big problem is that people just don't understand the power of OS 9.
Well, that's my precise point. So.
Right. I mean, you need to have a big sign that says OS 9 here.
Brown noser over there. I see.
Yeah. Actually, I think what most people, when I try talking about Nitrous 9, do the same reaction that Jason just did. They bang their head against a wall.
Yeah.
So.
I just closed my ear flaps. So.
I'm just going to have to attend to take over the whole damn Coco Corner, I guess. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, it's going to be Nitrous 9 everywhere. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be Nitrous 9 Corner. Damn, screw this Coco stuff.
In that third room with all the big stuff. I mean, they even had like racks of stuff that, cable head-ins used to use to run like the local version of the Weather Channel. So several different generations of it over there. It was like,
I couldn't get away with it because I actually get away from OS 9 because I was outside talking to this gentleman, and we were outside talking, and he actually brought a gimmicks computer.
Yeah, so we saw the pictures of that when people were walking by, and that's the big iron OS 9 machines.
Yeah, and it was funny because he was talking about how it was made in the Chicago area, but it was sold up to Canada and like out in like Vancouver area, and he bought it and had it shipped back to the U.S., to the Chicago area where he lived, because he wanted one. And
I mean, they were sold worldwide. NASA bought some. Just to give an example.
And you were definitely mentioned for him to contact and talk to about it. And because it was somewhat like talking to you about OS 9. I couldn't believe it.
It's like a religious cult, really.
It was, because it was funny because Ken walks up and I says, "There's 2 of them." And he looks at me, he goes, "What do you mean there's 2 of them?" I said, this is L. Curtis Boyle before EOU. And he goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." He even has a gimmicks. And they started talking, and I don't know, I closed my ear flaps because they started talking OS 9.
So I need this guy's name, and then Rick, you and I are going to set up a real-time clock over a network type thing. We're going to take over the whole damn corner next year. Okay.
Here we go.
And, but can this fellow solder?
I think I'm the only one who can't in the Coca community as a whole, really.
Yeah, he probably could.
You code.
I mean, he seems pretty knowledgeable and very hardware oriented in addition to software. So it's a very real possibility. He's L. Curtis Boyle 2.0.
I hope he comes to CoCoFest. Seriously, I would love to meet him because I've met a couple of the gimmicks guys like way back in Rainbow Fest era, but that was before I knew much about the operating system or even gimmicks for that matter.
Well, we told him about it and let him know about the show and the Discord, and told him about the CoCoFest and that it was local, and he said he would try to attend, whether he would bring it or not, or be a demonstrator on it or not. He wasn't 100% sure, but I am sure that if he realized the interest that it would generate there as opposed to VCF Midwest, he would probably be more likely to bring it.
I don't know. We handed out quite a bit of CoCoFest flyers. Had those available there in Coco Corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plus they're on the big TV when you guys went in to register and stuff. It was one of the rotating ads too. So
I had enough people asking about CoCoFest for me. Instead of having to send them down a little further down Coco Corner, Grant brought me some flyers down to my table, so we had those down there too. So
I was next to Ken, who was next to the Glenside table, and I just said, right down there, you can get a flyer to learn all about it. So I'm
gonna have to swear solidarity here with Fred Provancha because he says I can't solder either. So I've met another Coco person that doesn't know how to solder besides myself.
How's Andark 3 coming?
He's busy working on Control 3 for Nitrous 9 here. Give him some time. Priorities. All right, it sounds like it was a great show. I would love to go down. Just the time of year is literally the worst time of year they could possibly pick. So when Frank mentioned they're actually looking at doing one in Canada a little bit earlier in the year, that might be something I could attend. And Toronto's near enough to some, like Chicago and Detroit and a lot of people, Grand Rapids, like Ball Fair, et cetera. It would be nice to have you guys come up, and visit Canuckstan instead.
So
I just have to renew my passport.
Any more updates and acquisitions?
Yeah, I got my tabs up now, so I quit vamping.
Oh, that wasn't the news? Oh, my goodness.
No.
Ron's Garage, real quick.
Sure. And Nick Morenz, I'll just mention I'm going to show your promo. We can talk about some changes to it, but we'll do that as part of the Game On News. So go ahead, Ron.
Okay.
Unless you want the intro first, Mark. Do you have
I'll just share. It's been long.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Let's see if this is correct.
I can throw his title up though.
We're good.
And Pedro, that's a horrible joke. That's just like pun groaning fantastic there.
Are you seeing it?
No.
Nope.
You don't see Ron's Garage?
I see you.
How about now?
You're not sharing yet.
You see you in the background.
What? Well, I have to hit share.
I don't know if anyone else.
You have to hit share to share?
Yeah, it's a weird thing, isn't it?
Ugh.
Where's Sophia Loren for you guys?
I don't know if anyone else is seeing this, but on YouTube for me, it's the resolution of the stream is very low.
Oh,
that's just the Coco graphic screen.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's looking fine for me on YouTube.
Right.
I have a long delay, but it looks fine.
I thought it was the 40th birthday of the 6309, but it was not, according to L. Curtis Boyle.
Yeah, I understand the confusion there. Might as well explain this a little bit because you had put up the 40th anniversary of the 6309. It's not. I actually have a copy in PDF of the Hitachi 1985 catalog with all the specs for everything manufactured. It's like 800 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And they announced this HD 6309 as basically coming soon is what it says. So it got released in October of that year, if I remember from the OFM magazines. I think what the confusion was is that they were a second source from Motorola for the 6809. And they did make an HD 6809, which has no extra features. It's basically just a 6809 manufactured by somebody else on behalf of Motorola. That one, I think, came out in 82. So I think it was the 4th anniversary of the second source, not coming from Motorola.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was partly right, but it was the wrong chip. It was the 6809, not the 639.
All right. So
you get partial credit.
I fixed it accordingly and put the 37th back up instead. So then I made this for the Coco 3. If you want to download it, you can.
And that's your proposed artwork for the T-shirts and the posters for CoCoFest?
T-shirt. Yep. If we can have T-shirts made, that would be cool.
I agree.
And there it is on the hardware. I thought it looked pretty cool. Shows up nice, big and bold. And then talked about the mouse a little bit. That sucker is really something. If you drop it, it falls. It makes a loud noise, and you figure, well, that sucker's broke now.
Yeah, don't get mad playing a game with this and huck it across the room because you will put a hole through your wall.
That's for sure. It's heavy.
That's got real balls in it.
Yeah.
Steel balls. Steel balls.
If you have a pinball machine and the ball goes missing for some reason, you can probably just pop this one out, throw it in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But I've had this for years, and it's fallen maybe 100 times, and it still works just as good as ever. I had one break. I opened it up, and I was able to super glue the part back together, and it worked fine. In fact, this may be the one, but it still works. There's not I guess they don't have to be very tolerant for, being able to register the movements and stuff. Because, even as they get old, they seem to still work just the same,
Yeah, and I think the original one button black color mouse, I think actually is a bit more robust than the 2-button white deluxe one.
True.
Because that one, the button switches seem to go fairly quickly. Whereas the black one, I don't think I've ever seen actually really have a problem even with the switch.
And this is what a CM8 box looks like, if you've ever wondered.
Yeah, but it's false advertising because it has a door on the picture.
Yeah.
Right.
Really. They don't come that way natively anymore. No. And then I pulled out a gray machine and put it together and started fooling around with it. This is a 6809 with a Coco 2 keyboard in it. And
Worlds of Flight.
Worlds of Flight is up. And I put the speech and sound pack in it and started playing for different games. And I found a couple that I really wasn't aware of that used the thing. And it was neat to hear it speak. And then all of a sudden, guys come on and say, "Oh my God, it's Worlds of Flight. I didn't know we could use the speech and sound pack on that." And you can't. It's just the picture I put up. It doesn't mean that it's that particular one. Come on, you guys. Sheesh. So, and isn't this cool? A USB 64 gigabyte stick, but somebody figured out how to light up an old what do you call those things?
Vacuum tube.
Vacuum tube.
Is it a vacuum tube? That's not a mixing tube.
And really, if you think of it, this thing isn't lit up at all, is it?
Right.
Because those things usually glow like a reddish color.
Well, nowadays, they light up the base of real tubes like this to make it look cool because you can't see the heaters in modern tubes, really. Yeah. So I have a bunch of guitar stuff that has tubes in it, and they've put yellow LEDs underneath it to light it up like that because then it looks like a real tube.
Yeah.
Even though it is a real tube.
Well, but if you know how they work, and you're old like I am, you know that these things light up red. Yeah. And they have a little case for it and everything to hold it when you're not using it. Now,
does it get as warm as a real tube?
Well,
yeah, can I heat up my room like my tube-based amp does?
Yeah,
it's an LED in the base of an old mini tube.
Yeah.
So no.
Probably. And if it broke, it wouldn't make a loud pop or anything, would it?
It might be a real actual mini tube in there.
Yeah, it's probably a real vacuum tube.
You think so?
Just junk tubes. They put the LED under it and
tap it with a hammer, see what happens.
Crazy.
Right. There you go.
Okay, here's a colorful bird, a Boyd. I pulled this out and I thought of microcomputer, the word. And I'm thinking, gosh, they only used it for a certain period of time. And then now we rarely use it anymore. And then Ian Maverick said this: "I still use it as a columnist for the TRS 8-bit newsletter. I find it convenient when discussing our machines in particular rather than present day computers in general." So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, Ian's one of the main hosts of Trash Talk too, the podcast.
Yeah.
Live show.
So I thought that was cool. And it's neat to see different people come on my stupid page. Here's a color computer running at 70 megahertz, and it's still working. Just kidding. It's just I stuck a LED in there, and I thought it was cool.
It's like racing stripes on a car.
Yeah.
More TV magic.
Absolutely no function at all except cool. It's cool coming out. And what else do I got today? Oh, the new Chrysler 300 was unveiled this last week, and it's the last one. You can buy it for $55,000 if you have it. This is Demon Seed, which is a really cool game. Did you guys ever play this thing?
Yeah, it was actually one of the Game On Challenges about a year or two ago.
Wow, it's great. I
It's
mean,
basically a clone of Phoenix from the arcade game.
But for a Coco 1 or 2, I mean, it has a lot of stuff going on and it makes cool sounds, you know?
Yeah, it's a good game. Computer Shack / Mictron on one of their classics. They made a Model 1 and 3 version as well.
Oh, I happen to have a 6309 in this particular machine. This was a 16K that I upgraded and put the extra ROM in all by myself. And I was so happy I did that.
Look at you, you hardware guru.
Some kind of a tech guy I am. A big deal.
Next upgrade idea, I'll get you to solder for me, okay?
Right. So here's the 40th anniversary of the C64. I thought I would put a picture up, and then I get a whole bunch of crap from people on here. You know, well, are you sure you know, because I don't have one. I never used it. And I mentioned that, and then they get all pissed off because I said.
It was like Frank was talking about, like the 8-bit, playground.
Yeah.
Wars should be over, but there's still some residual effect.
I thought basically it would be a nice little homage, or however they say that, to the, C64. There's we're saying, good boys, you did good, Yeah,
I think it's still the single best-selling single model of a computer of all time, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is a high color image, so it's 320 by 200. So anyway, that's about it. I found crayons that come in 16, 32, and 48, just like the old Model 1 computer comes with that size of memory, right?
Oh, I thought you were referring to the color palette there. 16 is like Atari and Coco 3, and 32 is the Amiga. And I was trying to remember a 48 color machine.
Yeah, I guess you could take it that way. But I walked by it, I took a picture of it and thought, oh God, that's something interesting that takes up time and that's dumb to talk about. And then there's this video reviving retro computers.
Yeah, actually, I have that queued up in the news too, so I will be talking about this.
Okay.
So. That is cool. That was one I stole from you. Sorry.
All right, cool. All right, and here's the Coco Fest shirt that I designed. Don't you think that would be cool? You think I should get votes for that?
I would. Group? I mean, one thing I missed on the last one I got from 2018 is that it doesn't have the dates on it. I think I talked about this last week, where I prefer having one so I can look at it 10 years from now and remember where the hell I was. So and when. I definitely prefer this with the date on it.
Yep, and here it is close up. That would be the actual print.
I do have one question.
Yep.
You've got a Coco 3. You've got a Coco 2.
Yep.
Where's the Coco 1?
Yeah, it clutters it up. You already know it's the same. Come on. Same thing.
In smaller print, do you want to put the the city it's being hosted in?
No, it says Chicago. Right there. See it? That's it. Here's the Queen Mother with the dragon logo on the side. I thought that was interesting. Hey, look at that. Yeah, that's it. That's all for us over here at Ron's Large Industrial Garage. Thank you.
Cool.
I burn up so much time, because I'm retired, and now you guys sharing my foolishness. Thank you.
I'll be sharing your one foolish story there. Actually, it was quite interesting. So
cool.
Anybody else have any project updates or acquisitions?
You can see my excellent new standing disc, which is my face right now. Isn't it a beaut?
Was that like a pallet?
It's a wood crate Fruit crate.
Yeah, it's a wood crate box. I had to do a bunch of work, so I had to do it, walk to the computer and away many times. So I invented the standing desk.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a
okay.
good idea. The epitome of laziness.
Well, exactly right. And I'll never use it
Frugality, we
again.
prefer to call it here.
Yeah,
Save your
frugality.
back.
That's exactly what it is. And I'll never use it again. So it worked out. But,
Some
standing
people
desk.
say lazy, some say inspired.
Just before I was retired, they had put one in my office, and we were required to stand for some
A sit stand. Yeah.
and sit some percentage of the day. And oh, never mind. I'm making this longer than it needs to be.
Asparagus.
Right, this is the dawn.
You'll be shouting that a lot during the news segment.
Asparagus.
So news next week.
I can power through. With Septandy, the problem is if I wait a week, there's going to be a ton every week anyway until Septandy's over.
All right.
So
Ready for the intro?
unless you want a 7-hour show next week, let's do it.
All right, I got to turn that off. And
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
okay, go ahead. It's yours.
Okay, so you seeing that? Alan from Macy's?
Yep.
8-bit zone. This is actually a pretty interesting one. So Alan, of course, has been working on, hardware, graphics enhancement hardware for the Coco 1 and 2, sprite chips, etc. So this was a little bit different. So he released the video here that describes it, and also a patch. There's a couple of small bugs he discovered in the Coco version of Canyon Climber, because, of course, that was a cross-platform for the Atari 8-bits and stuff as well, mainly affecting the third level. And then he's also patched it to use some of the new palette settings he's got on his new Coco DV. So he's kind of covering a couple of bases here. It's a fairly long one. I won't be able to play, obviously, the whole thing here. He also kind of addresses the fact that he's trying to get around the FPGA shortages that everybody in hardware has been hitting. And he's actually found an alternative manufacturer that actually has a lot of these stuff, like clones of them in stock. So this might be an alternative for some people. So this is all part of Septandy as well. I'll just let him do a little bit of the intro. I will mention the Canyon Climber stuff. One of them is just a cosmetic thing. One is a little bit of a bug if you try to jump backwards on the third level. Like if you try to go back down, it'll sometimes stick you in the middle of the air. And as soon as, if you let go of the button at that time, or if you hold it on camera, it's one of the two. But basically, you'll stay hovering in midair. And as soon as you change the button state, then you plummet to your death. That's a little bit of a bug. So he actually patched it. He actually changed the code and fixed it. So those bugs are fixed here. But I'll just let him do a little bit of an intro here, and then we'll go on.
Welcome back to AC's 8-Bit Zone. This episode is packed with content for you. I'll show you a bug that was in the 1982 game Canyon Climber. Then I'll show you a patch that I made to fix that bug for Septandy 2022. Also, I'll show you how CoCoDV can add 16 colors to the game. And finally, I'll preview some information for you about how to get around FPGA shortages due to the global semiconductor crunch. So let's go ahead and get started. Mountain goats try to knock your climber off the bridges. I never knew about the shields on ramps 1, 3, and 5.
He's kind of just recapping Canyon Climber itself.
Cliffs. Now, watch for the first bug. You're supposed to continue jumping higher and higher to reach the top. However, if you jump back down, you can cause the climber to hang out in midair. Any joystick press left or right will immediately lose a life. I don't believe the programmers ever knew about this one, because normally you'd keep holding left during the jump and immediately fall. The other bug is more of a little feature where the edges of the cliffs are a bit brittle. If you approach an edge like this one and then you back up, you fall. Okay, here's my patched version to correct those two bugs. So the first level and second levels are exactly the same as before, so we'll zip through those.
Wow, look at that.
To equal cliffs. Let's try that left jump again. Okay, now he falls like he should and loses the life. If you read the manual, it does say going backward loses the life, but it doesn't appear they had any idea that if you're not holding left, that the player will get stuck in midair. Now let's check that the edges of the cliffs are not as finicky. See, I can approach the cliff, now back up, and I'm okay. So with those two patches, I feel like this level is a lot more playable than it used to be. And we're up and gone. One interesting thing about...
So that kind of shows the bugs and the fixes for them. So the finickiness of the cliffs, I don't know if that was on purpose or not. They might have, like, this is back in Pixel Perfect days, so maybe it was just to be irritating to the player, like a lot of games were back then. And it might have been on purpose. But the fact that if you jumped left and then centered the joystick, that you would just kind of hover in midair and not die until you move the joystick again, I think that definitely is a bug. So thanks, Alan, for fixing that. And then if you have a CoCoDV, which actually has settable palette registers, he shows some alternative possible palette settings that he kind of picked to try things on. And some of them do look a fair bit better than the original. And even change them, like, depending on the level where you change them. I think the player sprite actually looks better defined on that particular one there. And there's one, palette you pick there, and then, a different color palette over here. Like there's a fair bit of, and there's only 16 colors to choose from, but it still makes a huge difference compared to the original 4. And then I'll let you guys watch the video because of the hardware, as far as ordering. He goes about another company that makes duplicates of some of the FPGAs that are in such short supply now that he's found alternatives for. Obviously, he's involved in our Discord chat too. So if you have any questions on that, if you are a person looking for FPGAs, he can definitely steer in the right direction there and give you his feedback on that company that's working now. But it seems to be pretty pleased with it. And he's gotten turnaround times like in weeks instead of years, like some manufacturers are giving right now, as I'm sure Rick can attest to, and Frank. Jim Gary's been a busy little boy this week, so he cranked out a few games. Several of them are ports from the Dick Smith VZ200, which is, if I remember correctly, and Nick, if you're still on the call and awake, that's an Australian company that I believe the VZ200 actually was a Z80-based VDG machine, isn't it?
It was. It was a Taiwanese computer. I think you guys had it as the laser in America. I think you had the laser. It was called a laser in the US.
Yeah. So basically, it was the VDG, like the standard, green screen that we're used to seeing here and all the different modes there, but a different CPU entirely.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, he converted a few here. So this first one, The Secret of Volcano Island, is basically a text adventure game. This was originally written by Owen Ross, and it was published in the January to March 1993. So this is quite late. Of the VZ Down Under newsletter, which is a newsletter devoted to the VZ series of machines. So I didn't even know they were lasting that long. I don't know how did this sell in Australia. The laser didn't sell much up here. I can tell you that.
I do have one, but yeah, I've never used it. They sold fairly well back in the day.
Okay. Was it a fairly cheap machine? Like it was a low end?
They were little MC10 like things, but it came out with originally with the rubber keyboard. Chiclet rubber keyboard, and then later it had a more of a Coco 2 what's the
melted key style or
melted key style keyboard. I think he came out with later.
Okay,
but it was small like an MC10.
Okay. Anyway, he seemed to be converting a few of these. So the next one he did is the actual adventure itself. You can see originally by Scott LeBrun. So this is all ported over from the VZ200, and this was originally by Scott in the OOP magazine. I'm not sure what that stood for, from 1986. It's a bit earlier. Do you remember what years this was roughly sold, Nick?
Around 84, 85.
Oh, okay. So a little bit later, like a year or two after the MC10 came and went.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one he did, and he said definitely was an adventure game kick this week, is Treasure Hunt. Now, this was originally by Hal Ranko, it's spelled wrong there, and Sam Edwards, but it was actually originally a VIC-20 game from one of the basic books. Now, this one actually has a bit of a graphical representation on the screen, so it's not a text adventure game per se. I'm not sure what that little arrow flying in the end is because I don't know too much about this game. But it looks like a fairly interesting little thing, a little bit of a maze you wander through and items you have to pick up. And then it shoots things occasionally, apparently. And the last one here is kind of an interesting one, too. So those of you that are familiar with the game or Oregon Trail, and I'm sure almost all of you are familiar with that game, most of us are familiar with the Apple II game, which I think became the most popular one. And a lot of the later 8-bits that got the ports, that was what it was based on. But there was an earlier version that predated that. That was originally written for the Hewlett-Packard time-shared system, which it might even be the HP 3000 minis that Bill and I used to use at work way back when, after the PDP. When our company got bought out, we'd already switched to the CoCo. The new company that bought us out in '92 had an HP 3000 time-shared system, a mini. And then, of course, we took that over to the CoCo too. But I'm assuming it's one of those, like the earlier machines here. So this was originally written by Don Rawich, Bill Heinemann, and Paul Dillenberger. And it's a bit more simplified than the Apple II one, but yeah, the MC10's got a version of Oregon Trail now. Even got a nice little intro graphic here. I thought he did quite well.
It's great.
And I haven't played Oregon Trail in so long, I don't remember what's missing on this one versus the other one, besides higher res graphics, which obviously would be a bit of a pain on the MC10 because it maxes out people.
The original versions, if it didn't actually have it, they were text-based on teletype. It wasn't until like 1985 that the Apple version got some high-res graphics.
Yeah. And I know was it Paul Shoemaker was actually working on a port of this for the CoCo?
He was working on the high res of the 1985 version, but remember also there was another guy that did the text version port, and there's a channel on Discord for it too. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I could look it up. Yeah,
it'd be pretty cool if Paul could finish that one, actually. I don't remember. He stopped for some reason, and I don't remember what it was. Was he running? Oh, he was trying to figure out some of the 6502 assembly routines or something for the Apple II that were in there. Because it's actually a hybrid.
Mostly basic with some machine language routines to optimize stuff.
I think he was trying to figure out like what did the Apple II routine do because he's not familiar with the Apple II architecture.
Yeah, both the graphics are weird, and then of course the 6502 assembler code is like a subset of the 6809.
And then the other one he kind of pulled out here. We did a covering of a whole bunch of Star Trek ports, and there was like, I don't know, it was 14 or something like that. But this is actually like most of them are based on the same core 1970, what was it, 3 or 4 text-based one for the old mainframes and stuff that was done. But there was apparently a second parallel one that was done, but it was much more rare. It didn't get disseminated amongst all the micros as anywhere near as much as this. So apparently a guy named Bob Alexander discovered this other version of Star Trek and kind of reconstructed the source code himself because there wasn't any copies around. And then Jim has ported that to the MC10. So it's a little bit different than the Treks that we're used to seeing. And from looking at it earlier today, when I found it, because he just released this video, I think this morning actually, or maybe it was very late last night. It's not one I've seen before. At least I don't recall it. Like firing between forward and reverse torpedoes and forward and reverse phasers. That's not something you normally see on most of the general Star Trek games. So obviously this was a fair bit different from the one that became the most popularized up until, 3D simulators and stuff came out. Bit of interesting history here because this is an early one too in the mainframe mini days too. So this is predating the micros for the most part. This one I'll bring Nick in as long as you're still awake.
Oh, okay. I'll just wake up. Jumping Joey. Yeah, okay. Well, when I posted this message on Facebook, I said there that I'm on the final stretch of this game, 90% done, should be coming soon. So I thought I'd start a bit of a promotion, start letting people know about it now. And just a week ago, I came across, I had a vision of how to make the graphics better, which put me in a bit of a dilemma. I said, well, do I do these ideas now and slow the game down? Because the modifications I came up with give you more color in the backgrounds. And if you notice those two screenshots of the game there, they're on black backgrounds because of the limitations with the semi-graphics modes. You can only have one color and black per byte. And if I tried to put color in the background, it clashed with areas of color, and it just looked terrible. So I thought, okay, well, it has to be on a black background, even though I wanted the river scene, which is the second picture on the right, to be blue. So it signified that you were jumping across a river. But it just looked terrible. You know, the clash of color in semi-graphics just wouldn't allow it. So I thought it just looked better, just leave it black. I'll just tell people that you're jumping across a river of oil. But so after I did this ad and told everyone that I'm almost finished, I came up with an idea on how to get the color in the background using a dithering pattern, which it still doesn't get around the color limitations of semi-graphics, but because the background is dithered, it tended to hide the color clash a bit more. So I thought I'd try it. I did just a few mock-up screens, and I was happy with the results. It really does look a lot better. So that means I would have to change a lot of code, had to rewrite bits of the code to deal with the background. It was going to bump me back, you know. So do I go ahead and just finish the game as is and just be done with it, and then, you know, get it selling and rolling in all the buckets of money? Or do I actually try and do the game as best as I can? And I decided I'm going to make this up as best as I can. You know, I mean, bugger the money. I'm going to do the best job I can for a Coco 1 and 2 game. So I've started reverse engineering some of the code, and I've got it now working with the background. But because it breaks a lot of the other routines, there's still a lot of other bugs it's incorporated, which I'm still sorting out. It's going to be it's probably put me back at least 2 weeks from where I was. So from 90% complete, it's gone back to 80% complete. So one step back, but I think in the long term, it'll be 2 steps forward, because the color in the background really does look much better. It really
like it looks like a river.
A color computer. I mean, it's colorful as it is now, but with the backgrounds there, I think it looked a bit better again. So
I have to say, I'm not used to you being such a man of principle here, Nick. But
well, you know, I thought, do I just be greedy and get the thing out and make, you know, start selling it?
That's what I fully expected.
That's right. But then I thought, nah, I'm going to make this as good as I can. I want this to be the best Coco 2 game that I've ever, Coco 1 and 2 game that I've ever done. So yeah, I've decided I'll just.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of pulling out all the stops here. I mean, you're doing like background color shifting on a semi-graphics game. You're doing the full 9-color screen. It runs in 16K. It runs with keyboard or joysticks. You don't have to have a joystick. Runs on Dragons. Runs on Cocos. Has background music running while it's playing. Like you're really pushing it.
Without trying to promote it now, it does actually look quite good. Graphically, audibly, it's not bad. So I thought, well, I've gone this far. I might as well just go ahead and just make the backgrounds more colorful as well. So yeah, bit of a day. Sorry?
There's still 3 months to Christmas.
Well, that's what I figured. I mean, it's not as if you make a lot of money, really. It's not. I'm not going to be buying another car, a real car, that is.
Feature creep.
Maybe
no, it looks really good. You've shown me previews. I haven't seen the watery one yet.
I was good. I've actually, during the interview, I actually moved it along a bit more, which I was hoping I would be able to show today. And it does work. It runs on my Coco, but then I ran it in VCC, and VCC doesn't like something I've done in there. So yeah, don't you just hate emulators? So I couldn't share the screen. Works perfect.
Do you have a video camera you could just capture a screenshot off the Coco itself just to show what it looks like?
Look,
I've got another game thing I can cover in the meantime while you're doing that.
You do that, and I'll quickly try set up a camera.
Okay.
All right.
camera during a video podcast. What a revelation.
Goody.
And then speaking of projects, so Sheldon McDonald, he was working on multiple things. He did the what is the name of his Treasure Island Defense game, which he made a Coco VGA version, made a Coco 3 version of it. It uses the PSG and the some of the other sound cards. So he's been doing a bunch of stuff, and he was kind of previewing a hockey game called Ice Brawlers, and he was also talking about he's going to do some stuff for the Genesis and a bunch of other things. And then he kind of disappeared for a while. Well, he came back and said, "Hey, everyone, been a while since I posted anything." This is on Facebook for those of you that are on audio. And he said, "I started a new job this year, and we'll have some time for projects again soon, I hope. I also lost my dad to cancers. Condolences from all of us for that, Sheldon. A few of us went through that in the last couple of years. So that will help explain my absence." So his project bucket list, so he's kind of giving an update of the stuff he's planning on getting back into. Ice Brawlers Hockey for the Coco, which, if you remember, we had a Coco VGA mode with vertical scrolling. 16 colors on a Coco 1 and 2 game playing ice hockey. We don't really have a really good ice hockey game. We have two, but they're honestly pretty lame. A new dual ASM editor environment for Coco and the Sega Genesis. So it'll be writing this editor that will work on generating code for both machines. Music, mouse, and gamepad drivers for the Coco PSG. That's Ed's card, I think, which actually has all that combined into one card. And the Coco PSG bootloader, which we have previewed a little bit on here before. We actually have little icons you can pick from, and you can design an icon for each of the games you got stored on the flash ROM, and then just boot it up, just kind of like an STC does, except you're doing it off ROM. And then he closes the statement with saying, "I will be getting back to these projects soon, so stay tuned," which I'm really looking forward to. I mean, like I said, we don't really have a good ice hockey game, and being Canadian, ice hockey is like a religion up here, so I definitely want to see that. So looking forward to all that, and glad he's kind of getting back at things. I didn't even realize he'd gotten a new job in the meantime. And once again, condolences from all of us in the Coco community for the loss of your father.
I always thought you went to the fights and see if a hockey game broke out.
Well, that's why I called it Ice Brawlers, right? Because he's having enough fighting in the game. This is gonna be like, Blades of Steel or something. So. And none of the previous Coco ice hockey games, either the one by Intellectronics or the one by Computerware, had any fighting in it, so it wasn't really hockey to me. Have I vamped enough, Nick? Are you ready?
I'm trying to.
Okay.
Okay, hang on. I'll just pause the screen. So I can't do a joystick and a camera at the same time.
No, I didn't expect you to play it. I just wanted to see what the color looks like.
I'll just.
It could be a still shot. That's fine.
I'm trying to. I've got the camera there. So
okay, let me stop sharing.
And I will.
I finished my game on news anyway. That was the last story. So.
Oh, okay. So
I got tons of regular news. So
it's all on me now, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Like I said, you can just take a still shot from your camera and then just display that if you want.
I'm just trying to turn the camera on.
Internet's gone down to 0 again.
So I'll hold the camera up.
Shaky cam.
I know, yes, shaky cam. Well, that's the freeway scene.
So that's still got a black background for asphalt.
That one's still black. I was going to put some details on that, but maybe later on.
A pothole or two.
Yeah. Shaky cam, all right. I'll just skip across because luckily I can do that. This is the extra level, which has the extra. I can just leave that running like that, and I'll quieten it as well. So this is a similar. This is called the Outback
stockyards or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, where there are animals. So you jump across a freeway. Now you've got to jump across a stockyard. So the brown things are cows and the white are the sheep. And you've got to sort of get across, similar to the freeway scene, whereby you've got to jump across in the gaps. But you've got to time yourself so you don't get wiped out by a cow or a sheep. The frog doesn't move yet because of all the backgrounds. The red dithering, and that is the background. It was black. So I put a red dithering effect in the background. And that's not too bad. You can't really see the color limitation.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, the dithering really does solve it because you don't have that hard black line that you see.
You can see a bit of as the colors go. I'll do the white one. You can see a little bit of a clash, but because it's dithered and because it's moving, you don't see it. So it's not too bad. The next screen will show it even better. And it's got a few bugs in the turtles.
By the way, Jim Rye has a bit of a complaint on the stockyard level. He says he doesn't see any furniture.
Yeah, there's no furniture in this.
No couch. No.
Yeah, so that overall it looks a lot better than the black bland background. Yeah.
Look at the size of that croc.
Yeah, look at that croc. That's right.
It's a shameless plug, but 60 wants to know if you've tried X-Roar here, Nick.
I haven't as yet. Yeah, no, I will try that.
Okay, we want to report next week.
Yep.
Yeah, I can report.
And MAME, because MAME's so much fun to set up.
Next week I'll have everything fixed because you can see quite a few bugs creeping in with the turtles. They're meant to be submerging, and they were originally, but because I've changed the background, it's screwed up the routines. That's the problem. This sort of mod wasn't just a matter of painting a blue background.
Yeah, like all your pixel checks and your animations.
It breaks a lot of the other routines. So it was a lot of rewriting. But that's all right. I'm halfway there. So I reckon by next week, I'll be able to show up a better demo. There's a snake crawling down here. I don't know if you can see it at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just looks a lot better.
Monitor?
Sorry?
Is that a Magnavox monitor?
In America, it's known as a Magnavox. Yeah, it's a Commodore 1084 monitor here, but it's the same. Yeah, it's the same monitor. Because my good old CM8's died, unfortunately.
Yeah, as we discussed earlier with Frank.
Yeah, I know that was.
And is that the one that the Australian version for RGB uses SCART?
No. It's just like the American one. It's got that. Oh, sorry. What are you talking about? This Magnavox one? Yeah, SCART.
Okay, that's the one that needed an RGB to SCART. Okay.
Yeah, this has the SCART. Yeah, this is using your video cable that I bought off you.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was the same one. I thought that was interesting that the US version doesn't have that, but the Australian one has SCART for RGB.
That's right. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. I just couldn't.
No, it looks good. It doesn't really, because of the dithering effect there. It doesn't really look.
It's not too
as
bad.
in your face.
That's right.
That it has to fill in black and a color in a physical semi-graphics block.
So the freeway scene probably won't have a background. Neither does the arcade game. The freeway area is all also of Frogger, that is, because this game is a rip-off or based on.
Oh no, it's got
Frogger.
a new level, so it's totally original.
Well, I've tried to change it, but underlying it is Frogger.
Nick, is this the first game where you're offering financing?
Offering financing?
And 4 easy payments.
Yeah,
$1.
Right.
$2, I guess, actually. Probably.
But I do want to make it as good as I can, being for a Coco. So you probably can't hear it. It's playing music now. I'll just turn it off. There we go. Anyway, that's it.
Okay. And next week, hopefully we'll have a non-shaky cam version of it.
Well, hopefully we can run it in the VCC or X-Raw, whichever one.